When you are in your 20s, the world feels wide open and full of endless possibilities, but what nobody tells you clearly enough is that this decade is both fragile and powerful at the same time, because the habits you form, the choices you make, and the way you use these years will echo into every single decade that follows. And the danger is that most people stumble into traps that feel harmless in the moment but slowly eat away at their future until they wake up one day wondering where the time went. And the first trap that quietly destroys people's 20s is the obsession with validation, the constant need to be seen, approved, and praised by others, which today is amplified more than ever by social media, where you can measure your self-worth in likes, views, and comments. And so many young adults start living for the image rather than the substance. They spend their limited money on things that look good in pictures. They chase careers that sound impressive but bring no fulfillment. They mold themselves into versions that win applause but not peace. And the real tragedy is that validation never fills the hole inside, it only makes it bigger. Because once you get attention for one thing, you feel pressure to keep performing, to keep impressing, and you lose the ability to ask yourself the harder question. What do I actually want? Not what looks good to others. And many people waste their 20s building lives that look perfect from the outside but feel empty on the inside. And the regret only shows up later, because one day the likes stop mattering, the approval fades, and you realize you don't even know yourself anymore. So avoiding this trap means daring to be honest with yourself, being willing to disappoint others so you can live in alignment with your own values. Because your 20s are not about building a performance, they are about building a foundation. And if you let validation guide you, you will always be living a life borrowed from others instead of owning one that is truly yours. And the second trap that destroys people's 20s is the silent neglect of health, which seems harmless at first because when you are young your body bounces back quickly. You can eat badly, sleep badly, treat your body like an afterthought and still wake up functioning. But the cruel truth is that every unhealthy decision in your 20s is like writing a bill that your 30s and 40s will force you to pay with interest. And too many people learn this too late. They skip exercise for years, they live on caffeine and alcohol, they shrug off sleep, and then wonder why they feel exhausted, anxious, or older than they are. Because health is not just about avoiding illness, it is about having the energy, focus, and clarity to actually build the life you want. And when you neglect it, everything else suffers: your relationships, your career, your creativity, even your confidence. And what makes this trap so dangerous is that you rarely notice the damage in real time. It creeps up slowly, until one day you wake up and realize you are stuck in patterns that are hard to reverse. So if you are in your 20s, this is the moment to create the habits that will carry you for decades, not because you need to be perfect, but because small consistent actions compound. And choosing to take care of your body now is one of the greatest investments you will ever make. Because money, success, and relationships all lose their shine if you do not have the health to enjoy them. And the third trap is running from failure, which sounds safe but is secretly dangerous, because your 20s are the best time in your entire life to take risks, experiment, and try things that may not work. But too many people let fear of embarrassment or rejection keep them frozen. They pick the safe job, the safe choice, the predictable path, because they are terrified of making mistakes. Yet what they do not realize is that the true mistake is refusing to try. Because avoiding failure is also avoiding growth. And in your 20s you have more flexibility, fewer responsibilities, and more time to recover than you ever will again. So wasting this decade hiding from risks is like wasting the very gift that could set you free. And the truth is that failure is not a sign that you are weak. It is proof that you are daring enough to stretch beyond your comfort zone. And every failure teaches you lessons that success never could. It reveals your blind spots, it builds resilience, it makes you resourceful, and those are the qualities that actually lead to long-term success. Yet many people are so scared of falling that they never walk forward. They never build anything that matters, and they spend their 20s waiting for perfect conditions that never come. So if you want to avoid this trap, you must reframe failure not as an enemy but as a teacher, and be willing to fail often, fail smart, and fail forward, because the only real failure is the one you learn nothing from. And then there is the fourth trap, staying in toxic relationships, which might be the most painful of all, because who you surround yourself with in your 20s will shape who you become. And too many people hold on to friends or partners who drain their energy, limit their vision, or damage their self-worth, simply because they are afraid of being alone or because they think they can fix others. But the danger is that years spent in negative relationships do not just waste time, they rewire the way you see yourself. They slowly convince you that dysfunction is normal, that disrespect is acceptable, and by the time you realize the cost, it is often years gone that you cannot recover. And what makes this trap so deadly is that it feels familiar, sometimes comfortable, even though it is hurting you. And many people waste their 20s trying to rescue others while losing themselves in the process. but the truth is that your environment shapes your identity, and if you want to grow, you need to guard your circle like your future depends on it, because it does, and letting go of toxic people is not cruelty, it is self-respect. It is acknowledging that you cannot become your best self in the company of those who constantly pull you down, so your 20s should not be about clinging to relationships that limit you. They should be about surrounding yourself with people who inspire you, challenge you, and bring out your best, because when you get your circle right, everything else in life becomes easier. And then we arrive at the fifth trap, the one that hides beneath everything else, the belief that you have unlimited time, that your 20s are just a rehearsal for your real life, so you put off dreams, you delay growth, you postpone the hard work, telling yourself you will start tomorrow, next month, next year. But what you do not realize until later is that your 20s are not practice, they are the launchpad, and the years you waste thinking you have time are years you will never get back. And the most common regret people carry is not what they did, but what they never started, the risks they never took, the opportunities they let slip, and the dreams they buried under procrastination. And this trap is the most seductive because time moves quietly. You blink and you are 25, blink again and you are 29, and suddenly the decade you thought was endless is gone, and the foundation you could have built is missing. So the lesson is simple but urgent. Do not wait. Do not treat your 20s like disposable years, because they are the most fertile soil you will ever have to plant seeds for your future. And yes, you can recover from mistakes later, you can start again at any age, but nothing replaces the momentum, energy, and freedom you have right now. So if you are listening to this, understand that your 20s are not about drifting, they are about direction, not about waiting, but about building, and every day you waste believing you have time is a day stolen from your future. And when you put it all together, these 5 traps, living for validation, ignoring health, running from failure, staying in toxic relationships, and thinking you have unlimited time, are the silent destroyers of a decade that could be the most transformative of your life. And avoiding them does not require perfection, it requires awareness, courage, and consistency. It requires asking yourself harder questions, making choices that may not always look glamorous but set you free in the long run. And it requires the discipline to value yourself enough to build a life on your own terms, because at the end of your 20s, you will either look back with gratitude that you laid a strong foundation or with regret that you let these traps consume you. And the truth is, no one escapes the price of their 20s, you either pay it with discipline now or with regret later. So do not let validation steal your authenticity, do not let neglect steal your health, do not let fear steal your growth, do not let toxicity steal your self-worth, and do not let procrastination steal your time, because you only get one chance at this decade, and the choices you make now will echo for the rest of your life. And while it may sound overwhelming, it is actually empowering, because it means you hold the power right now to choose differently, to build better, to step away from the traps and step into the life you truly deserve. So if you take nothing else away from this, let it be this: your 20s are not disposable, they are decisive, and the way you live them will either destroy or define you. So live wisely, live intentionally, and above all, live for yourself, because this is the decade where your real story begins.